been on a meeting? I see Joe over there raising her hand. Unmute yourself, Joe, and tell us hello and where you're living and say hi.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. My name is Joe Remmer Ely, and we bought a house off of Victor near Blue City Deli last May. This is my first meeting. Happy to be here. Thank you.
That's so great. What a good block. You picked a good spot and you will never be hungry at lunchtime.
Welcome to our neighborhood.
Welcome. Anybody else? Nope. Okay. Yeah, there'll be other people joining as we go, no doubt.
Yeah, this is Mike Healy. I'm first time at the meetings as well. I have a house on Sydney Street, around Sydney and Missouri, or Sydney and McNair there. So happy to be here.
And a fellow that I know, Zach Davis, has just bought a house on that same street, one of the old ones on the north side. Yeah, on the north side of the street. So you'll have to get to meet him renovating an old house. So welcome. Good. Anybody else who is first timers? Okay. Well, good. Announcements. So tonight is our annual members meeting where we do approve the budget and elect our people. Tim has put up the agenda. I have it on a screen right over there. And it has the new people who are part of our organization now already. I put them up here because I'm hoping, oh, you just went to the second page. Yeah, there we go. Good. So anyway, the people you'll see are the executive committee and all the members at large and committee chairs are up there. So we'll get to that in a couple minutes. As I said, at 8 o'clock, we have a number of people who are running for mayor and comptroller who asked to be part of our meeting tonight and to say hello. We usually keep them after the meeting so that it doesn't take up a lot of time. And they just are going to say hi and they're not going to take up too much time. So I would encourage you to stick around after we finish our business meeting. We'll have Kara Spencer at 8 and Darlene Greene, who's running for comptroller. I think she's unopposed. And Andrew Jones, who's one of the mayoral candidates, at 8:30. Tashora and Lewis Reed did not reach out to us, so they will not be on tonight, but you can see them on any number of other candidate forums that are all over the place in St. Louis. There's plenty of places where they're telling you about their positions on things. So anyway, that's what we have tonight later on. And the last thing to tell you is that our usual police report from Officer Jasmine, unfortunately, she got COVID and she's home and she's not going to be able to do that tonight. I spoke to our new police captain, Joe Marici, 3rd District captain, and I invited him to come on and introduce himself, but he has some conflicting things tonight, so he will be with us the next time we meet, and you guys can say hello to him and ask him any questions you'd like to, and hopefully by then Officer Jasmine will be back and give us the crime reports and such. In lieu of that, I was hoping that we'd have our safety committee person, Barbara Vindiola. I reached out to her today, but she may not be around. And if she comes on, we'll get a report and talk to her. So with that said, I'd like to move to just administrative stuff, which is that we're supposed to approve the minutes, which have been on the website. And I'm sure you've all have read them in great detail and have decided that we can approve the minutes. So if everyone, unless anybody has any objections to that, we'll just make this go quickly and approve the minutes. There's nothing. Okay, good. Minutes are approved. That's good. We're done. Police report will wait So the main thing for tonight's meeting is that we have a slate of candidates who are willing and able to take the positions as officers and members at large for the next year and committee chairs. The ones you have to vote on are the officers and members at large. And you'll see on the left side of the agenda, the list of people that have been serving mostly, a couple of new folks that have been willing to work on taking care of the neighborhood association. So unless anybody has any write-in candidates or wants to self-nominate and run against somebody in this meeting, I'd like to have a motion to accept the slate of candidates that we have picked for your neighborhood association.
I'll move that we accept the nomination here.
I second that.
Thank you. So Benjamin and I didn't see who seconded it, but
Vince Barini.
great. Thank you, Vince.
Don,
Hey, by the
just
way,
one-
is Jim, you're on, yeah, Jim, go ahead. What?
Just, I also move to approve it in February versus last December because of COVID. We got pushed back a couple months.
Indeed. Usually we do this, all right, at that point. So according to the strictest letter of the bylaws, we're a little late, but you know, COVID. Thank you, Jim. Okay, so good. So we have a motion to approve this slate of candidates. And if anybody objects to this, let's do it that way. Raise your hand or put up the little hand thing. Otherwise, I'll assume that you're all happy with that. And those of you who are on video can go like this. And given that we have a Zoom meeting, I will assume that unless I hear anybody screaming that they will not support me to be president for life, or at least for one more year, that we have a affirmation of our officers. Thank you, folks. All right.
Hi, Don.
Yes.
I'm not objecting to this slate, of course, but I think if anyone is new, if they can say a few words about themselves, just so we can put Zoom faces to names, or I guess in the interest of time, they can do that in the chat, if that's more efficient.
Well, yeah, maybe you came on a little bit late, but the first thing I did is I asked for some new people. So we had Joe and Mike they introduced themselves. So we did that, and we're happy to welcome them.
I think she's referring to candidates, like the new people to the board and the executive staff, right?
Oh, sorry about that.
So like Jim, I know he's not really new, but he's a new name, and Joanne, it looks like, I think, are the two.
Right, Joni. Okay,
Or
so
Joni, sorry.
yeah.
Sorry, I'm squinting on my little tiny laptop.
We have right, the more people that come, the more windows you have here. Joni, are you on tonight?
I am.
So say hello and tell people that you're actually happy to do our membership work.
Hi, everybody. I'm Joni Jakes. I live over here on the 2900 block of Missouri. Lived over here for the last almost 4 years now, and decided that I wanted to get a little more involved in the neighborhood. Been watching what things are going on. Actually wanted to right before COVID happened, and then everything kind of got waylaid. So was glad to hear from Kay. I have past experience. Currently, I'm the incoming president for the Women's Council of Realtors for 2022. I've held various positions in BPNA, if you're familiar with what that is, and also with an international organization that I've been a member of for the last almost 26 years now. So glad to be here. Hope to meet everybody in person one of these days. And please let me know if you want to get involved, or if you have any neighbors that need a phone call and encouragement to hop on and become members of the association.
Thank you, Joni.
You're welcome.
Another new person is our webmeister, Ben. Are you here, Ben? I only see one page. See if there's another. Oh, there's more people. Yeah, let's see, maybe Ben's not on. All right, so Ben is the new webmeister who's taking over from Catherine to run our website. And that, by the way, leaves us with an opening for social media and marketing. If anybody is interested and has some skills with using Facebook, Instagram, and doing marketing, I think perhaps Katie's little person right over there, I see with a little sucker in her mouth. Maybe she'd like to volunteer. That'd be good. She looks like she could do some marketing. Anyway, if anybody's interested in that, let us know. And Barbara Vindiola, who most of you know, has been working hard with Nicole on the dog park, will be taking over and kind of renaissance of the safety committee, which we wanted to see what we can do in our neighborhood to upgrade our safety. So, but I don't think she was able to be here tonight. So those are our new people. Am I forgetting anybody? Okay.
And I think Barbara's at work tonight, by the way.
Yeah, I think that was a conflict for her. I left her a message today, but okay. So you'll get to know Barbara next time. We'll get her on. Good. All right, so we've done our election and we've done our introduction of people who are serving your organization. So I'd like to turn it over to Liz to tell us about the budget. As our treasurer, she's been taking care of our nest egg of money and our balancing of budgets and spending. So she'll tell you about our budget for next year.
Hi guys, I think this is my 4th year in this position, so hopefully not for life, but really nice to be with all of you guys again. So of course, the most exciting topic of the night. Tim, can you display the budget proposal?
Yeah, the profit and loss statement is a deeper dive into all the little things. It's really not for tonight. So just if you put on that 1-page Excel spreadsheet of the budget, not this profit. Yeah, it's a different document, Tim. It's not the profit and loss thing.
If you do want to take a deep dive into our income and expenses, we do post each year-end profit and loss statement on the website in the About Us section. So it's a line-by-line look at all of the transactions from 2020. And I think we have 2019 in the archives as well. So anyone that wants to take a look, if you have any questions, just let me know.
So can you get that, Tim? It's just
And I don't think I'm able to share using my iPad either.
Yeah, Tim has it. It's just he's got the wrong document up. So it's that other one that Liz sent you that says budget. It's an Excel, or it's a PDF actually shot, but yeah.
So I guess I'll start by just saying we had a pretty lengthy discussion as a board, given COVID implications and looking at our expenses from 2020. Nobody could have anticipated what would have happened with the pandemic. So it's really difficult to say how 2021 is going to unfold, but we made the decision to go ahead and plan for a normal year, hoping that we can have a slate of events similar to 2019. So the budget is very similar to what we initially planned in 2020. We can make adjustments going forward. Hey, Tim, I think it's the tab that says budget 2021. If you go onto the upper right-hand side, yes, that's it.
There you go. Just do that full screen and you're good to go. Well, we can see it. If you actually, Just hit your full screen thing up in the upper right and it'll put that as the whole thing. You're on mute also, Tim, so we can't hear anything you're saying.
Can all of you see?
Yeah, it's just partial. Why don't you
Tim,
scroll?
perhaps you could
There you
double-
go. That's it. Get the bottom line. We just want the bottom line here for Liz. That's
All
good.
right. And Tim, I think if you double click on the PDF, it can become full screen. All right. Well, anyway, nothing really notable to say except the 2021 budget plan is almost identical to 2020 planning for an event series. And as you guys can see in 2020, you know, our income was a lot lower than anticipated because we didn't solicit sponsorships, but our income was also our expenses were also a lot lower than expected. So we had in 2020, lower income and expenses, and depending on how COVID unfolds, good chance that's going to be the case in 2021. But given the unknown, we wanted to allocate funds to events in case it is safe to go ahead and have a normal slate of concerts. The only other difference from 2020 plan is we still have 900 left in our COVID assistance fund. And that's money that we specifically dedicated to COVID aid. And as many of you know, we haven't had many applicants in the past quarter. So we still have that 900 set aside. There's also some insurance implications depending on how our event series unfolds. If it turns out that we aren't expecting to have a full calendar, Don and I are working with the insurance agent to hopefully get a decrease in our premiums. So hopefully that 4,000 allocated would be lower than expected. Besides that, do any of you have questions? And I know it's a lot to go through on Zoom, so we do post the budget on the website. So if this budget is approved today, you can see the PDF along with 2020 and I think 2019. All of it's on the website. So if you have any comments, you can contact me or any of us.
Well, that's great. Anybody, Liz, you didn't mention the board retreat in Barbados that we were all going to do.
Yeah, so as soon as the board is vaccinated, have a trip planned to Cancun.
Oh, it's Cancun, right? That was a little cheaper there, right? Yeah, at any rate, we'll let you know if that happens, guys. Otherwise, we're very fiscally responsible, and Liz is doing a great job with that. So let's move on to our Alderman report.
Members are,
Unless you're,
you know,
say what?
crucial. So typically we have a holiday event. If you haven't renewed yet, go ahead and do so on the website because we depend on membership donations heavily, especially when we don't have sponsorships coming in like we typically do.
Good point. Yes. Tell your friends to re-sign up as members. Good.
So does anyone want to move to approve the 2021 budget?
I move to approve the budget.
I second.
Second.
And Chief thirds.
Oh, good, Chief. Well, if Chief thinks it's good, I'm sure you guys are all convinced that this is an approval, unless I see any people.
Never mind, I don't trust cats. Aren't we dog park people anyway?
Yeah, really.
So I think told me to say here.
Uh-huh. Nicole, what does your doggy have to say about this? Should we approve it?
Samantha's a firm yes.
Okay, good.
Avery cares even more. He's also a firm yes over there.
Good. All right. So unless I see any hands down, our budget is approved for next year. Thank you, folks. We're trying to be responsible and still do good things. And we'll move along to Dan. What's going on in the city and in our parks? You might as well do your park thing and everything all in once.
All right. Hello. Can you hear me? Yep. All right.
Yes, yes, yes.
Wonderful. Happy Black History Month, everyone. Make sure to get out and support our local businesses that are minority owned. So start off with that. We've been doing for, I guess, 11 months now, starting off with a COVID report. So this last weekend, the city of St. Louis had a large COVID vaccine distribution event that many people may have seen advertised. Over this past weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, the city was able to vaccinate 4,498 individuals. We have mostly gotten through all of our first responders, police, fire, EMS. We have also had partnerships or gotten extra vaccines from BJC and the SMS hospital systems that we are able to use some of their extra vaccines to get them into the most vulnerable first. But there have been a lot of questions and a lot of things raised, not only in the news, but I've also received a whole lot of phone calls about how the vaccination distribution is going. We, as a city, cannot be more frustrated with the fact that the state of Missouri is the last in all 50 states for vaccinating our residents. We are working through some things with the state. Again, the states is getting the vaccinations, and then they just yesterday came out with kind of their own zones of who will be getting vaccinations. We found out today that it looks like St. Louis County will be going through or getting the vaccinations and then splitting them into the city. So we are, because we're looking at the region as the area affected, we are trying to work with the county to make sure that we get as many vaccinations as possible for city residents. So although we had, I think we had a total of 4,500 doses last week. This week, we are only guaranteed 975. So it's a kind of a fluctuation on the vaccines, the city getting them when they're available. So this all leads to, I encourage everyone to go on the City of St. Louis website, which is the stlouis-mo.gov. Sorry. And on the COVID page, there is a registration on there. So you can put your information so that when we do get to your tier, that you will be notified when we do have the vaccinations available. Also, it's really important. We tried to, through the neighborhood, try to update as much as we can with what's going on with the CARES Act 2 funding for small businesses, the next PPP loans, the rental and mortgage assistance. But if you go to the city's website and click on their COVID page, all of the information is on there. We just approved another over $8 million for rental and mortgage assistance. So no one should not have the opportunity to be able to get assistance if you have been disadvantaged because of the last 11 months of COVID. So please check out that site. Please register, put your name on there so that when we get to your tier, we can let you know. And I see in the comments, someone says, do we know when we're moving to phase 1C and 2? No, we're still at 1, A and B. So we don't know, because the vaccinations are fluctuating, we don't know when we're going to get to the point to get to that tier. So, but we are getting vaccinations. We are planning on doing more large scale events to get it out. We're also looking at doing a mobile vaccination bus that we can take to certain areas like senior homes, and take them to areas where seniors aren't able to get out and get to Union Station or the Trans World Dome. We can get the vaccination to them. So it's still just like the last 11 months. It's still a work in progress. But thank you for everyone that has really the city comparable to other areas is doing well. We're taking it serious. We're distancing. We're wearing our masks. We're not going to the big house parties. So keep it up. And hopefully soon we will all have vaccinations and we'll be able to have concerts in the park again. So that's my COVID update. Some updates on City Hall. We're on our last week of legislation, our session. So we've been just kind of jammed with everything. A lot of people have heard me talk over the last few months about, we'll start with Board Bill 77. So for over a year, we've been talking about a handful of city elected officials that want to redo the ward reduction vote. They want to re-vote whether we go from 28 to 14 wards. This finally passed 2 weeks ago, but I am happy to say that the mayor vetoed it. So we will not have to worry about that this April, but it is something that is coming up in the next year. So it's time for people to start sitting down and coming up with a plan, which we've been trying to do for 4 years. But the opponents that didn't want to do it, this was kind of their last Hail Mary to re-vote it, and the mayor vetoed it. So that will not be on April. Something that could possibly be on the April ballot is Board Bill 212. Board Bill 212 was passed last week to get on the ballot in April. A non-binding resolution of whether or not the city should close the workhouse, which is something that I'm very passionate about and have been talking to you all for 3 years on. The bill itself passed after the deadline for getting on the ballot. So the sponsors are going to try to sue the Board of Elections to get it on. So keep an eye out. That's probably going to be on the April ballot. And if it is, I would be happy to talk to anyone about why this is a good idea. And then the other one that we've been talking about a lot was Board Bill 200, which is the persistent aerial surveillance, or the spy plane bill. Last 2 weeks ago, it passed 15 votes to 14. So we were that close to stopping it. This week, it will be final voted on. And I think that we've got enough momentum to stop it. But if you are someone that is passionate about this, either way, if you're passionate for it, give me a call. If you're passionate against it, one person out of 15 has to change their mind in order for us to stop this. And over the last 2 weeks, there's been a lot of articles from Baltimore, from the funders, the Arnold Project, saying that this is not effective. It's a waste of money. So the original Baltimore funder has dropped out completely, saying that it does not lead to any sort of decrease in crime that they can find. So we don't have a funder. We're passing a bill with no funding mechanism, which is shouldn't be allowed in the first place. So that's kind of my City Hall update. Really quick development stuff. I'm sure everyone has seen how much is going on building-wise in our neighborhood. I've gotten a lot of questions. The Lynch and McNair property, there are 2 buildings going through there that Tim will talk about. There's a possibility of 4 new units catty corner from Benton Park Cafe at Pestalozzi and Salina, the vacant lot. The same developer that's doing a lot of building, Hank Hart, is looking at putting 4 units there. So that will be coming up. Stay tuned. Join the building review committee if you want to be a part of that. And then the final thing is that this Friday, we should be having the final vote on whether or not we can allow what's called a tax assurance for the project at Jefferson and Lynch, which will be a 4-story apartment. If that passes this Friday, hopefully the builder will then finalize his bank work, and we'll be able to get that project started, which is going to be about a $12 million $11 to $12 million project at South Jefferson and Lynch. So, so that's the building stuff. I
Really
heard someone.
quick, 182, wasn't that heard last week by the Board of Aldermen? Was that tabled?
So 2 weeks ago, it passed what's called the perfection, which is the last time that you can amend a bill. So it passed through that on the consent calendar, meaning there was no debate. But then the Rules Committee has to go through and read everything before a bill can come up for the third reading and final perfection or final vote. And so it did not make it last Friday through Rules. It has made it now through Rules and will be third read and finally passed this Friday.
Hey, Dan, I have a question on the COVID stuff. It seems a little crazy to me that St. Louis County is getting the vaccines for us. I'm curious who in the state is in charge of that, number one. Number two, who in the county is in charge of making the decisions of what we as the city get. And then three, whether city residents can then register in the county and with the county to get vaccines, and should we be doing so?
So first question, who's in charge? So our State Department of Health. And like I said, just yesterday, they finally shared with us the regions of how they're going to break down who gets vaccines. So State Health Department will be the first question. That second question is that because so Dr. Garza, who many of you have seen as our kind of our regional head of the pandemic task force. So Dr. Garza will be working with the regional task force on determining what hospitals and what areas get vaccine based on population and need. So it will be, the vaccines will come to kind of the regional director. The regional director will then distribute them. But I agree that everyone in the city is saying that's kind of strange, but it is a regional approach. So we kind of have to look at it like that. And then third,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
Well, then the third one was that because we had this question today on our call with Dr. Eccles and the mayor, because there were some people from the county that came in and got their vaccines on at Union Station this weekend. And kind of the answer is that, people may be living in the county, but working in the city, living in the city, but working in the county. So to answer number three would be sign up for any registration you can sign up for. Whether that's a city, whether that's the county health department, whether that's local hospitals, BJC, SMS have their own signups. So if you want to be covered on all parts, sign up for every registration in the region. Does that answer three questions?
Yeah, I would have a follow-up.
Okay.
So what, so are we not the only one that's being treated regionally? Then there's multiple counties like grouped together, and it's just like one county within each group that's in charge of distribution or something?
Yep.
Okay, I understand. Thanks.
Okay, so then, I got through COVID, got through the city hall, and got through development. I guess I will say, since we're on Politics Day, some of you may have, or most of you, hopefully received a flyer from me in the mail today. I am also up for re-election. I would also support, appreciate everyone's support coming up. And if you want to know more, the mailer you have, my website, www.danguntherstl.com, has my history, the work we've done in the last 4 years, which if you look at what we've done in 4 years, I think I pretty much have been in line with most people in the neighborhood of what we're fighting for and what we really don't like airport privatization and spy planes. So anyway, that's my 15 minutes of political talk. I'll save you guys at 8 o'clock. And then the last, I'll go on to parks. We're not really doing anything with parks right now. When we get closer to spring, I will do a garden maintenance at Arsenal in Jefferson. That pile of mulch that is still there, if anyone needs a little bit for their trees, it's there until we get around to moving it. So, that's, but we'll do that closer to spring when it's a little bit warmer and when we're not campaigning every day. So.
Hey, Dan, really quick on COVID.
Yep.
If we live and work in the city, I'm assuming we should not sign up with the county.
Yeah. Unless if you find yourself in the county for stuff, it makes sense to sign up since you live and work and everything in the city, sign up for the city. But just because it is really uncertain about how many doses we're getting every week and how fast we can get to people that may be considered healthier populations. So, you might want to sign up with the hospitals, especially if you are regularly seen at, St. Louis University or Barnes or something like that. It might be worthwhile to sign up for their registrations, maybe not the county.
Thank you.
Well, good.
All right. No other questions. Sorry I talked so much.
Nope, it's all good, Dan. Thanks.
A lot going on.
Mm-hmm. Anybody have any other questions for Dan before we move on? Well, good. Brittany, tell us what plans are afoot for events. Should we be able to have them?
Yeah, so we are still in the beginning stages of kind of planning out what we will be doing, but we do anticipate being able to have some socially distanced concerts this summer, like we did in November. We'll have, everything will be socially distanced. We'll have circles marked off. Wearing masks when you're not in the circles. There'll be all the safety precautions and everything. So we do anticipate being able to have some more concerts than we did last year for sure. We're working on getting some sponsorships for this year. And everything's still in the very early planning stages, but do expect some good fun stuff in the neighborhood this summer.
Yay. We sure hope so. Well, good, thanks. Liz, is there anything specific about the COVID relief program that we need to talk about other than what you've already said?
No, I think I hit all of it with the budget. We still have the 900 in funds. Really haven't seen as much demand, but if anyone needs assistance, they can go on the website and apply for gift cards.
Mm-hmm. Good, tell people. Well, good. Hey, Tim, tell us about the buildings that are going up, coming down, being thought of in the neighborhood.
Well, actually, are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Dan touched on a couple of them, so I'm not going to repeat those. We've had a couple of zoning matters that have come before with regard to a conditional use, which is a use of a property that doesn't perfectly prescribe to the legal zoning of that property. So the city makes accommodations for those uses if there's support, from the neighborhood and within the zoning board. So that's, we supported 2 things on that. And then there's 1, 2, 3, I think 4 others where there's remodeling or a new building being proposed, and we're working with the neighbors or the developer as the case is. So I'll see if I can get some of these written up, and we'll just include that in the meeting minutes in a little bit more detail.
Don, you're on mute.
Sorry, folks, didn't see that. We'll move along to the building review, to the garden committee, which is Bill Kranz, and give us the update on all the cool stuff about the cave.
Yeah, thank you, Don. I'll talk about the garden a little bit first here. I appreciate the $500 appropriation for this coming gardening season. And we got some pretty heavy duty tree trimming to do that might cost some money. And last year we had 0 expenditures for the garden. So I'm kind of proud of that fact that we were able to keep expenses down. For the cave, we'd like to kind of change the signboard name out there on the garden site itself to Sinkholes and English Cave Community Garden. So if anybody has any thoughts about that, let me know over the next couple of days. You know,
Bill, can you repeat that? What was the name that you wanted to put on the board?
we just want to add the name of a partner that Ezra English had. His name was Isaac McHose.
Oh, okay.
A lot of the maps have his name on there. And so it'd be McHose and English Cave Community Garden. Other than that, we had Fox 2 News out in the garden about 2 weeks ago, and me and Dan and Marion and Don Walters were interviewed by that Bridget Mahoney. Did a real nice interview out there in the garden, and that was basically sent across the nation with the Fox 2 News associated sites, including the New York Post. So we probably got $50,000 worth of media coverage from that particular interview. And like I say, we just look forward to this coming fall when we might, submit plans for some sort of access into the cave. And we'll just too early to really know what's going to happen yet on all that. So we'll keep you informed month by month, and we appreciate your help with this effort.
Well, good, thanks.
Any questions? Let me know. Thank you.
Yeah, if people want to begin thinking about gardening in the spring and having a little plot there, they should talk to you, right?
Yes, please do.
Good. Nicole, you want to tell us about the dog park?
Sure. Since it's our first meeting of the year, I'll just quickly introduce myself. I'm Nicole Poston. I'm the president and chair of the dog park in the neighborhood. We are always accepting new members. You can find any information for joining our park at bentonparkdogpark.com. We have a few pieces of paper you have to fill out with waivers and vaccine proof of vaccine. Our dues are $36 a year, and we're happy to have anybody who wants to join the park. Other than that, we have about 120 members currently. We are going to be looking for some, well, first we're reseeding the other half of the dog park. Our landscaper's coming out the second weekend of February to lay new seed. We're trying to decide, I've talked through the committee about it, and we don't really have a perfect answer. We're trying to decide whether we close the entire park to keep the new grass nice and happy through the winter, or we just open up that other side and close the side that's been newly reseeded. So if anybody has any input or opinions on growing grass, this is only our second year really fully open, so we're still kind of figuring out the most perfect way to reseed and how to keep as much of the park open as possible. I'll put my contact info in, so if you have any opinions on growing grass or what you think we should do, to hear your suggestions. We will be looking for some garden volunteers soon in the spring. Barb Vindiola takes care of the garden for us. She does an excellent job every year, and she's always looking for some volunteers to kind of help plant things and clean up the garden and keep it pretty. And yeah, I think that's it. If you have any other questions, like I said, I'll put my contact info in the chat. Feel free to reach out or visit our dog park website.
Thanks, Nicole.
Sure.
That's good. And anybody who wants to try to get enough support together to start a cat park, we want to be fair, you know.
Avery is firmly against this.
I
He will
appreciate that
vote
they
every
would be.
time. Absolutely not.
It may not have to be right next to the dog park, but anyway. So we have a couple minutes left.
I have a question. Can I jump in? I'm
Yes,
sorry if
please. I was going to open it up to anybody who has any new business or things you want to talk about. So please do, Jackie.
Hi, I'm Jackie. I think I live on the same street as you, Don. I'm on McNair, and I am curious about the orange fence in the middle of the dog park. I didn't understand. Well, one, it just doesn't look good, but is there I'm sure there's a purpose. What is the purpose to that?
Sure. So the side that has the grass, we laid new seed in October, and we were, per our landscaper, he asked us to close it for, a couple of months to get the grass a chance to root and really grow. With that, going into winter, our committee decided to keep the park. We wanted to close the park entirely to reseed the entire thing. Because the weather was still relatively warm that time of year and it was COVID and people really didn't have a whole lot to do, we wanted to keep half of it open. So the half that is now basically all dirt and mud is the half that has not been reseeded. So we're trying to keep, that was part of my question. So we're trying to keep the grass that's recently grown in looking nice through the winter, through the cold and the snow and everything. So we've been trying to decide whether we open up that side of the park and reseed the other half and close the other half. That doing that would keep the orange fence there so that dogs are not trampling on the brand new laid seed. Or whether we just close the whole park altogether and give all the, keep the nice grass, the new grass nice, and give the other half a chance to root and grow good seed for the spring. Because if we don't, it'll be a mud pit in March or April when the weather gets nice and we're ready to open. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you for that context. I was just curious.
No problem.
We go there pretty consistently with my kids playground, but I still haven't brought my dog yet and I need to.
Yeah, for sure. I'm getting ready to type my info down here in the chat. So feel free to look at our website to join and reach out to me with any questions or suggestions. I would love to open up that new side. I'm just nervous about ruining that grass with the cold and wet weather. So we'll see. Stay tuned to the website, our Facebook page and our Instagram for more updates and info.
Thanks. We have a few minutes before our political candidates are showing up, and I'd like to just say that there are a couple of items that have been continuing, people have been interested in and having issues with and wanting to talk about. I just want to throw them out there. Sinkholes and derelict buildings. I got a few messages from folks. There's a 3,000 block of, is it Indiana? Or I think, Dan, you probably know about this one, where the water main might be causing a sinkhole and it collapsed in, and there's a need for the water company to fix it before the city will fix it. So I don't know if the person who asked me about that is on tonight, but I did say that I would just mention it to see what you knew, Dan.
Well, I'm on the 3,000 block of Indiana, and I haven't seen a sinkhole there. But they're in the 3,100 block of Illinois.
That's what it is. Sorry.
Yeah. So there's one there, and there's also a pretty large one on the 3,300 block of Illinois that was all over next door. I saw this past week. So both of those there's a water connection problem that one of them was supposed to be fixed today. The other one's still in the works. Once the water connection, the leaking water is fixed, then MSD, the 3,300 block of Illinois one, MSD then has to come out and make sure, because it looks like it ran into their street drain. So they have to fix their connection, and then Streets will be fixing the holes. So there are quite a few sinkholes going in right now, but they are all accounted for and being worked on.
Thanks. I'll let people know that you're on top of it as much as can be. It's two different utilities, apparently the sewer and the water companies, that are needing to do what they need to do before the city can pave it over. So
correct.
Yeah, that's a little tricky. Well, good. And I know people have, been talking about derelict buildings. I know Barbara's on here and, Scott and Melissa down in the 3000 block. There's a few derelict buildings that have continued to be problems. If people want to talk about it, anything related to that, you have a little bit of time.
I can talk a little bit about it if it's all right.
Barbara, thank you. Yeah.
Okay. First and foremost, I believe every vacant building in the 9th Ward has been turned in for the vacant building fees. Secondly, I know that you have spoken with Peter Hoffman, and when I had first approached Peter Hoffman about the vacant building initiative, he was saying that Benton Park did not really fit within his parameters. However, I understand that has changed. So he is, I don't know what he told you, Don, but he had told me he is willing to help you guys, or one of the lawyers on staff are willing to help you draft a letter to some of these owners that you might be interested in going after. And from there, it would go through the process. But I would highly recommend, if he's offering to take it. A number of our neighborhood associations have acquired, Marine Villas acquired a number of buildings. Graveway Park has acquired a number of buildings. I think Benton Park West is just starting on it. So it's a great program. It really is a great program to get some of these buildings out of the hands of private owners who really don't care too much about what happens to them.
Oh, well, good. Yeah, so I know Melissa Bean and Scott had been talking about that one down there, and Barbara. So we'll follow up with the neighbors who have been concerned about them and see if we can get Peter underway. We talked about how it may lead to a lot of expenses, which we're not sure that the neighborhood association, we just haven't thought about how that would work. But we'll do the first step and we'll find out what the deal is, and we'll report back to you all and see what we want to do.
Okay, and can I do a PSA very quickly?
Please do.
Okay, even though the police are not here, I do want to mention that our auto thefts are up. Okay, and a lot of the auto thefts are not just the tampering and actually breaking into the car, but people are leaving their keys in the car while the car is warming up. And especially since tomorrow and Friday and Saturday is supposed to be 0 degrees with wind chills amazingly low. Please, if you have to bundle up a little more, do it. If you have a remote starter, use your remote starter, because 9 times out of 10, the car stops if anybody tries to tamper it. But whatever you do, please, 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 please do not leave your keys in the car while it's warming up and nobody's in it. I don't know if you've seen how many cars have been showing up all over the neighborhood, bashed in and everything else. It's costing us a lot of money, insurance wise and everything else. So let's not give a criminal the opportunity to take our cars. Please, I can't beg you enough. Enough with the PSA. Oh, one more thing, trash and refuse. Alderman Gunther did not touch on this, but I know I've been getting calls about the recycling dumpsters not being taken care of, some of the solid waste overflowing. I am asking you for patience. If you notice, refuse have been coming into the neighborhood on Saturdays and Sundays to try and catch up. Also, yard waste will not be picked up until March. Please do not even call it in, because they're not going to empty it. March, they will empty it. So please continue to not, or, try not to add to the yard waste. Put them in a bag and save them till March or whatever, but do not add to the yard waste because they will not be emptied. That's all. Thank you.
Well, that's a lot. Okay. Thanks,
Sorry.
Barb. That's so no leaves in the green dumpsters until March. Okay. Anybody else have any things you want to bring up or talk about? In a couple minutes, our candidates will be coming on, and those of you who want to hear what they have to say, by all means, stick around. Tim, will you watch for the people who come into the waiting room and let them in?
Yes, no, I've been keeping my eyes peeled on that.
Good. All right, that's great. So yeah, that's pretty much it from the BPNA folks. We'll let the politicos speak their pieces, and I will look forward to seeing you all next. The next meeting is March 2nd, which is the night of the primary. I'm assuming that we are okay with having our meeting. It's not like an election where people are going to be busy out, as far as I know. What do you think, Dan? Is there a reason to, I mean, you may not be here, Dan, I get that, but
Yeah, I may have to give a written report.
of course,
Yeah. With proposition, this is a good reminder. With Proposition D, it is no longer whoever wins the primary in March is kind of the automatic winner. In March now, it's a preferential voting. You can vote for 1, 2, 3. You can vote for who you like, and then the top 2 vote getters move on till April. So really, April is the deciding election this year, because of Proposition D that we passed in November.
Right. So we'll have our meeting on Tuesday night, March 2nd. Maybe Dan will be busy, and any of the other folks, Ken and Pat. So we'll see what happens at that point, and I'll turn it over to Kara as soon as she arrives on the meeting, and we'll hear from her. And then we've got Darlene Greene, and then we've got Andrew Jones. So 3 of the candidates who, for those of you who were not on the meeting right at the beginning when I announced this, people reached out to us to have a few minutes to introduce themselves to our neighborhood association, and I gave them some time now. For not everybody reached out to us, and so this is how it was. There's plenty of other forums where all 4 of the mayoral candidates are speaking, and you can tune into those to get more detailed information if you'd like. But our meeting is not for political, long political debates and such. It's just for people to introduce themselves. So, and there's Kara, I see you. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Kara. If you're on, you've got the floor. Connect to audio and unmute yourself right now, and you are good to go. There she is.
Don, are you talking to me?
I was talking to you, Kara. You are now on, and we can hear you, and we'd be happy to spend a few minutes. You have like 10, 12 minutes, which is to use as you wish.
Well, thanks so much. I had a feeling you were talking to me, and I was having a difficult time getting my audio connected to the Zoom here. So thank you so much for the invitation here. You all are my neighbors. I am just south of you here, Marine Villa, and I'm coming from an event downtown. So excuse me, I'm just settling in for the night. Thanks for having me. As you all know, I'm running to serve as our city's next mayor. I have been serving as an alderman just south of you in the Marine Villa, Mount Pleasant and Graveway Park neighborhoods for the last 6 years. And I never thought I would be coming before any neighborhood association and asking for your support to run as our city's CEO or our next mayor, because I don't come from a politically connected family. I'm not a lifelong politician here, but I am a lifelong St. Louisan. And I absolutely love our city. I live on right down south of the Anheuser-Busch Brewery along the Mississippi. And I see an enormous amount of unreached potential in our city, like most of you do. We have some of the best assets in the world with our history, our baseball team, the architecture, the cultural amenities. But the cities around us, which we kill for those amenities, are outperforming us at every metric. We have to get serious about the real issues facing our community. And if I'm elected to serve as mayor, I'll focus on a few things. Number one, absolutely, is crime. That is why, as a candidate, as a serious candidate, I have put together a 10-step comprehensive plan to address violence in our community. I've got it outlined on my website, and I encourage you all to take a look there. We have some real structural deficiencies on how we are approaching crime from a very strategic perspective, in that we don't have a strategy. We haven't had a strategy, and it's time to get one. So I've outlined that in my crime platform on my website. Number two would be breaking down our racial disparities. And this is not something that I talk about. This is something I act on and have been very effective at the Board of Aldermen. The racial segregation, the disparities in our community are something that are not just awful to live with. They're holding us back. They're holding back employers. They're holding our ability back to perform at a national, international level. And as Alderman, I've taken constructive actionable steps, bringing in air quality control monitoring to help address the biggest health disparity, asthma. And just last week, bringing in a $2.5 million grant to address lead in the housing units that are poisoning our city's children. Thirdly, I'll focus on rebuilding our neighborhoods. You know, I represent some really challenged neighborhoods just south of Britton Park, and I've been able to help lead the way to turn these neighborhoods from decades of decline to real significant growth. We have turned over more than half of our city-owned vacant buildings, properties, into the hands of private owners, and we've seen our building permits explode, increasing over 1,200% since I took office 5 years ago. And lastly, I'll focus on making our city work better, function better on a very basic level. When I launched this campaign, I joked I'd throw the typewriters out of City Hall, but our typewriters and City Hall people. When I filed a run for mayor just a couple weeks ago, I filled out several forms on carbon paper. This is really embarrassing, obviously, but it's also costing us real money to perform in this inefficient, archaic manner. And I will clean that up. I've spent a decade and a half in the private sector. I have real experience helping big companies make smart decisions for their bottom line. And I'll do that for the city of St. Louis. During COVID, it's very difficult to have constructive conversations about what I would do as mayor, why I want to run, and my track record here as an alderman. So I'm encouraging folks to reach out to me directly. We're hosting small Zooms. I love the opportunity to answer questions and talk and go in deep into some of the solutions that I've identified, having a bird's eye view of the dysfunction and the lack of performance of our city over the last 6 years. And I'd love to talk about those things with all of you. I didn't want to take too long, Don. I could ask questions or anything of that nature. Somebody just posted in the chat about my education plan. I have a real plan for education. I'll say this, it is rooted in a focus on our SLPS kids, our public school kids. They make up almost half of right about half of our overall student population. And while many of our kids are transferring out to more successful schools or going to private schools that perform very well, many of those kids are leaving St. Louis when they graduate because St. Louis is not a growing economy right now. Our SLPS kids are overwhelmingly lifelong St. Louisans, and a failure to focus on them is a failure to provide a workforce that can attract employers and a failure to invest in our future residents. So my education plan is rooted specifically in our SLPS kids. So I don't want to take up too much time. I'd be happy to answer a question or two, but I'll also be happy to defer to an offline discussion if that's best for the group.
I see Jackie has a question in the chat. Jackie, do you want to talk?
Yes.
We have time. Yeah, we're good. We still have time.
I'll be quick.
Oh, great.
And it's
Hey,
not going to
Jackie.
be easy. Hi, I like you. But I also have been really committed to anti-racism work, and I have been following you in the debates. And I think a big question that I have is, why are you running when you admit to aligning to 95% of the platform of a more seasoned Black woman who is running, who I think clearly has a really good shot, and I'm worried about you getting in the way.
Well, Jackie, I appreciate the question, and I appreciate your commitment to anti-racism. And the passage of Prop D should eliminate some of your concern here. This isn't an either or, and we can choose more than one candidate. While I do align with many of the policy positions, I think I take a different approach to governance and how I work on getting things done. I have a great relationship with the majority of the Board of Aldermen. I've passed several policy initiatives, and I just, I can point to sort of my actions when it came to the privatization of our airport. I sort of take an approach of digging in to issues, and it's just a different approach that I offer. So I encourage everybody to really think about, not just the positions of a policymaker and a potential administrator of city services, but maybe dig into the track record of getting things done. And really, at the end of the day, I'm glad that me, not any of us alone, will decide who's going to serve as our city's next mayor, but it'll be a decision that we collectively make as a community. But I appreciate the question, certainly, Jackie.
Yeah, thank you for answering it.
Sure.
Any other folks would like to see what Kara thinks about things? We have another few minutes before our next person is due in. So, or if you just have some other stuff you'd like to tell people, Kara, we got 5 minutes.
Sure. I'd be happy to, I can talk all night long, Don. I mean, perhaps it would be helpful to talk a little bit about my ward. I think, as I mentioned, we've been able to really focus on rebuilding an area that has seen decades of disinvestment. This is an area where I've taken not just a position, but a real concerted hands-on approach to block by block rebuilding our neighborhoods. This is an approach we're going to have to take citywide. This big silver bullet solutions like Better Together and North Side regeneration are just not going to save the day for us. We have to engage the communities, and we have to engage on a very grassroots level. And that's something that I've been able to successfully work with folks on the 20th Ward on. And I know that that model is one that has worked in cities across the nation. And I truly believe we can do this citywide. There are some great projects happening in every neighborhood, but we have to get serious about supporting them. And we have to get serious about making our neighborhoods safe. And so that's why I have more than just ideas. I have concrete solutions on how we can start to address violence, how we can start to really tick down the crime in our neighborhoods and make our communities safer.
Thanks. Well, that's great. Okay, so we're going to let you get back to your next campaign stop of probably many tonight. And thanks so much for checking in with us, Kara.
Thanks so much for having me tonight.
All right. Adios. So we're going to move on to Darlene Greene, the candidate for Comptroller. And she wanted to give us an update on what the Comptroller does and what she has accomplished and what her candidacy is all about. So Darlene's on the phone. I think she's on the run. So can you hear us, Darlene?
I can hear you. Good
Beautiful.
evening.
Yeah, thanks. You got it, Darlene. You got 15 minutes if you want to tell everybody about all the things you do, and go take over.
Thank you. Once again, I appreciate being invited to say a few words, give you an update. I will be on the ballot this March 2nd for Comptroller, and I serve as Comptroller on a platform of honesty, integrity, and I'm all about accountability. I'm all about protecting the taxpayers' dollars and protecting the city's credit. Over the years that I have been your comptroller, I have saved the taxpayers over $160 million through bond financings and refinancing. And that goes a long way when we're trying to balance our budget and when we're in the need to have additional monies in times like these. We're in a economic downturn during this pandemic. We've been in economic downturns in the past. In 2008, you can remember, we were in an economic downturn. We had to tighten our belts, reduce our expenditures because our revenues were down. But in a regular economy, I can tell you that the city of St. Louis normally has a budget that is slow growing, but steady. We normally have very steady growth in our revenues, though they are slow. But since we've had this pandemic, I can tell you our revenues have dropped drastically. For example, the hotel and restaurant taxes are down up to 78%. That's a huge reduction. And the other revenues, such as your sales taxes, your earnings tax, your property taxes, and others, have also followed suit in terms of they are down. They're none of them as down as much as the hotel and restaurant taxes, though, but they are down. One bright part of our revenues, we will have a bit of growth in those taxes that we call local use tax, and that's where folks are ordering online, mostly our businesses ordering online, and we're showing a growth in that tax up to about 20%, even during this pandemic. So that's just a little bit about how we're doing here in St. Louis in terms of revenues, what they're looking like. As we are in this pandemic, the city has been curbing the expenditures, and we've been doing a good job department by department. We've got hiring freeze, even though we try to hire those essential workers and keep those jobs going. In terms of my job and getting back to what does the comptroller do and why do you have a comptroller? Well, I pay the bills for the city. I do all of the accounting, processing, payroll processing, accounts payable processing. I do all of the fiscal management and fiscal reporting, along with the financings. I mentioned earlier that there are bond financings, there are also bond refinancings, and I take on that task in my job. I also have the task of internal auditing in the office of the comptroller. In that office, we have just under 100 employees, and we do a pretty good job. We're very efficient in a lot of areas in the office of the comptroller. I am an independent elected comptroller. I run every 4 years at the same time that the mayor runs. I serve together with the mayor and the president of the board on the board of estimate and apportionment. And that board, we meet monthly and we approve all of the contracts and expenditures for the city. We also help put together the budget for the city. We have a $1 billion total annual budget. We have the budget director, Paul Payne, who is in charge of putting that budget together with the input of the comptroller, the mayor, and the president of the board. And the budget is then passed over to the Board of Aldermen by May 1st. and that board gets to deliberate over the budget that they have received. And then there's some negotiations that go on within those 2 months between the Board of Estimate and Apportionment and the Board of Aldermen until we have a final budget on June 30th. That is our, by law, when we must have a completed balanced budget annually. That's a bit about that, and then I'll just go back to some of the things that I've done besides the savings of the $160 million. I am responsible for the model for the STL youth jobs that we have for the summer jobs. I've partnered with the Incarnate Word and Goodwill, and that's been a very successful summer youth job program for our city. And then there's, see here, got some things that I've got written down here. The latest bond financing was the convention center bond that closed just this past December. We closed $105 million for the city's portion of the $210 million expansion for the convention center. St. Louis County will match our $105 million, and they will pay that portion. The completed expansion of the convention center is estimated to be around 2024, something like that. That's going to help our hospitality workers, our jobs. It's going to bring in more conventions, and we believe we will be in the, I guess you would call it, tier 1 convention centers for our market, our Midwest market. Right now, we're definitely in tier 2. Tier 2 is where you don't have the kind of ballroom space and convention space and amenities that convention centers that have been either built or upgraded in the last 10 years. So we will have that going forward, and we look forward to getting on the other side of this pandemic and having more tourism in our city. And one other thing that's going to be on the ballot this spring, I believe, is the earnings tax, and that will be on the April 6th ballot. And I want everybody to be aware of that. The earnings tax makes up a huge amount of the revenues for the city of St. Louis. And so I would hope that you would kind of remember to get out and vote for the earnings tax so that we can keep that. It's very important to our city's budget. I'm wrapping up, and as I wrap up, I'll say a few things about, you know, what we have all in common here in the city of St. Louis in terms of, you know, different issues. The number one issue is the violent crime. I look forward to the new administration, you know, working with the new mayor on helping to support some of the ideas that they have to curb the crime in our city. I look at my job as being one of a support role to make sure that the money is available in terms of you know, you got to have the money in order to get some things done. Through the Comptroller's office, in the past, we have worked very well with the mayor's office, with the president of the board. We try to make sure that we have the reserves. So it's kind of hard when there are things that are being asked, that the reserves are being asked to pay for, when we know that in times like, you know, pandemics, that we're going to need to use our reserves. So a lot of times you hear me resisting. I'm thankful that I have the ability to be independent and to be an independent voice on behalf of the citizens so that we can use our finances judiciously, but at the same time use them for what we need to use them for. And once again, like violent crime is one of the key areas and the key issues that we'll need. We talked about violent crime, and then you dial 911 when you've got an issue, and we are learning that our 911 system is not as good as it should be. But one of the things that we've done to help improve response is to partner with a mental health agency. So not only is that going to be helpful to respond to our community, we are also going to get in and see what we can do regarding the technical equipment that needs upgrading for 911 so that we can have a better response. I also think it's important to look at how we can partner with the county. I know that we partnered with the county with regard to health on some levels, and economic development. We partner with the county, and there are other ways that we can partner so that we can have a more effective community as we try to continue to have adequate services delivered to our citizens here in the city of St. Louis. So I am done with my comments. If there are any questions, I will be glad to answer them.
Whew, that was amazing. Thank you for the education about what the comptroller does. You have a very big job, and thanks for teaching us about it. If anybody has any questions, I don't see any right now. Well, that was terrific. Okay, Darlene, thank you so much. And we're gonna turn it over now. Unless you have any parting remarks, we're gonna turn it over to our next person.
Well, parting, I will say once again, thank you. And I
Hold on.
am very hopeful.
There was a question in chat about do you expect the city's credit rating to be downgraded?
That's a very good question. We get what they call a surveillance call annually, and we did have our surveillance call in the midst of the pandemic this past summer. I believe it was in July, and we were very fortunate to not get downgraded. So we go to this coming July. I don't know. It's going to depend on factors in terms of what our expectations are with the 2022 budget. Our next fiscal budget is 2022. So whatever those numbers look like, that's going to be a determining factor. But one of the things I'll tell you that caused us not to have a downgrade was the fact that we did have the reserves on board in 2020 so that we could handle just this kind of economic situation that we find ourselves in. And I'll tell you, the transfers from the Office of the Treasurer for the last 2 years did help the city to have robust reserves. The last community meeting that I was in, there was a question that they asked, what's the difference between the comptroller's office and the treasurer? The treasurer is the depository office. That's where the office's taxes, that's where the city's taxes, after the collective revenue, which is Greg Daly collects the revenues, and then the treasurer banks them. There's an investment policy. There's someone that needs to scrutinize the bank's policies and invest all of the money and bank all of the money. And my job is to have a checkbook of the city, and I write the checks to pay the bills, basically, to pay the payroll and all of that. So there's a separation of duties when it comes to the city's finances. And in the city of St. Louis, the charter provides for independent officers to handle those things. And that has really helped our city a great deal when it comes to governing with regard to your finances. It's kind of like an automatic kind of, being conservative in terms of how the duties are separated.
Thank you, Darlene.
And Okay, and thank you for that question. And I'll just add one more thing. When I said all of that about the finances and how they're separated and all that, and they're all independent of the mayor, and that's rare in most cities. Okay,
Very
thank you
interesting.
once again for listening.
Hey, that was great. We really appreciate it. So good.
And
All
you
right.
guys
Well,
get vaccinated when you can.
alrighty, Yvette. We'll say goodnight to you and we'll move on. I see that our other mayoral candidate, Andrew Jones, has shown up on the little boxes here. So Andrew, it's a pleasure to meet you, and we'd be happy to give you the time to talk about your positions on things, to answer questions, get to say hello to the people in our neighborhood of Benton Park. So it's all yours.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you and the people of Benton Park. It certainly is an absolute honor. I'd like to present myself to some, introduce myself to others. My name is Andrew Jones again. Currently a Vice President of Business Development and Community Development at Southwestern Electric, based out of Greenville, Illinois. I have over 25 years of executive career training experience, and I'm a concerned citizen that would love to be sitting at home eating some Ted Drews. But I was forced by humble readings of history, thinking about Aristotle when he says a civilization is only as good as its people. So in looking and assessing what's happening with the city of St. Louis, I am absolutely concerned. 4 years ago, I was concerned about the violent crime in the city of St. Louis and a myriad of other issues that are being repeated today, and it seems like nothing has been done. I mentioned then that we were at a crossroads. Today, I'm saying we're at a point of almost no return if we don't turn this battleship around to get things back in order so we can be the civic city of excellence that we should be. And I, as mayor, will make sure that we move back in that direction. As I mentioned earlier, I'm a resident of the city of St. Louis. I went to Lincoln University. I received and earned a Bachelor of Science degree in Business Administration and Economics. I went to Washington University, received an MBA from there. I also have a master's degree in international business from Webster University, and currently I'm about 5 classes now short of a master's degree in economics. I have a thirst for learning, and I also have a stronger thirst for sharing the information that I've learned, accumulated to help grow, develop business. And I've also been a 25-year practitioner of economic development, business development, and community development. Those are all the things that are necessary to turn a city around. A city like St. Louis that's in dire straits relative to businesses, workforce development, education. We need to get all of those areas shored up so that we can move to the 21st century and be on the bleeding edge of being recognized as one of the better cities. Whereas today we're looked at as one of the worst cities, particularly when you look at what's happening in Centene and the CEO there saying that he will not do a second phase to a vital corporation's growth here in the city of St. Louis because he's afraid of the violent crime. He can't bring in top talent. All of this impacts everything. So my platform, a platform that existed the last time I followed the clarion call to do something about it as an ordinary citizen, I gathered up my personal monies, started the campaign, went out and got 80-something% of my own signatures to talk with people to determine what are the major concerns in the city of St. Louis. And a resounding number one for the overwhelming majority of people that I talked with was the violent crime and public safety. It is absolutely imperative that we do something about the violent crime. Currently, what happens is that we scapegoat the police. I am absolutely for peripheral services. That is part of what the police do. We should help in the humanities, social issues. We should do and get involved with all of those. And those certainly will be taken into consideration and be at the forefront of our thoughts as I become mayor. I'm hoping to become mayor. But number one, we're going to eliminate the violent crime. For some reason, we keep conflating the two. They are absolutely separate and distinct. If we're looking at violent crime being committed, which I said before, about 80% of the violent crime having a nexus, a link to drugs, narcotics, guns associated with it, gangs, violent members of this society, and they only make up a very, very small portion of this community, we have to do something about them. The police do a phenomenal job in that area if given the free range to do so. I'm saying that they're being handcuffed, no pun intended, and they can't do their job. I think everyone is concerned. We just had a killing the other day with a father and his daughter associated more than likely with this type of illegal activity and all of those type of things associated with it. We know who they are. The police know who they are. They don't have free reign to do anything about it. I know people say that they have ideas to eliminate the crime. Certainly it isn't to be disparaging about the police. Certainly it isn't the peripheral things. It's a triage scenario that we take care of this violent crime and we'll do those other things and we'll continue to do those well. Because I would like to get into what I've been a practitioner of, economic development for all of these years, community development, business development, to make sure that we have a comprehensive plan, something that we have not had for the city of St. Louis. Recently, a report has been released that they're going to do something with community segment of it, but they haven't done anything. And now they're responding because, again, I'm sounding the clarion call, and now it's forcing people to say that they will do something. This is all new. We have politicians that are running who've been involved with the fall of the city. And I'm coming from the outside saying that I have a unique set of skills to be able to help turn the city around. I love the city, just like each and every one of you, but we have to hold people accountable because they have done a poor job for the city and they just can't get away from it. And they just can't ignore the fact that they haven't done anything about this thing up until this point, and you certainly need someone with those skill sets to do so. The economic development plan is based on a retention program, based on an acquisition program. And centered around that, the framework deals with your visions, your missions, your strategies, your objectives. You're looking at all of your projects and methodologies, and that includes all of your budgeting, finances. We go into thorough analysis to make sure we understand what it is that the city of St. Louis wants and get it to marry and fit with prospective businesses. When we do so, we will have a throng of businesses wanting to come back to this city that has outstanding infrastructure. We have what I say are the great intermodal opportunities here. We have airways, we have highways, we have railways, and we have waterways, great port system. We have all of the great anchors institutions, from Washington University to our junior colleges, to our rankings, and to our apprentices programs. I submit to people that we don't have a jobs problem, we have a personnel problem and challenges. We have to get people married up to all of these great jobs so that we can eliminate all the peripheral problems that people talk about. We talk about the Delmar divide, gentrification that will take place. If we get people jobs that are waiting for them to develop their skill set, they will be not negatively impacted by market rate homes. We don't have to always rely on low housing, things of that nature. We'll get people thoroughly invested into the city and we can move us into the 21st century. But these things are relatively easy, but we have to get rid of that very small percentage of people who are committing violent crimes in the city. Cincinnati did. I know people mention other cities, but those cities didn't turn anything around because what Cincinnati had to do was fundamental, just like your teachers would tell you in school, the KISS method. Keep it simple, stupid. Let the police go after those violent criminals because a sociologist's life will be taken by those same violent criminals, just like they did the father and the daughter. They have no moral compass, and there are people like that. And we have police who do a very effective job at what they do. And if they do get out of line, under my administration, we hold people accountable. But if they do a phenomenal job, follow policy, do everything that they're trained to do, and these are proud professional men and women, they will get the job done and we will cheer them along the way, because we have to go about the business of turning St. Louis back into the strong economic engine that it can be. We just need the proper leadership. Leadership has failed us. Leadership now comes back 4 years later and says that they have an answer, but they didn't have an answer through the interim. Again, I would love to sit at home to eat Ted Drews and relax. But since I obligated myself to do something to help our city, I'm saying that I'm the candidate to get the job done. I'm not influenced by outside monies. I'm not influenced by anything, but to do what I do best, turn things around, provide remedies, and get the job done. We have to make the city of St. Louis a beacon of civic excellence so that we can be the guidepost for other cities to follow to get us in line. I'll end it there.
Well, thank you, sir. That was awfully comprehensive. Hey, I have a question. I'm not a native of St. Louis, and the city-county issue just seems so complicated and so historically thick here. What would you like to tell us about what you've seen with that?
Well, I am a native of the area, and I noticed those demarcations exist. But what I submit, and I'm an economic practitioner for years, we look at it as a regional perspective. And when we look at specifically to nail down to the city-county comparison, we should be looking to expand, to merge, but it's a courting process. And right now, we're not the best looking date in order to get this thing married true. Because I'm a realist and I face reality, that's the only way you can solve problems. But St. Louis, again, has all the good bones to get things done if we administer everything right and we comprehensively deal within the negotiations and your plan, your comprehensive plan. We become the beacon of shining light. And now the growth to and spreading out to St. Louis County would be something of akin to us being perfect for the county, and they'll want to come to us because we are the linchpin, we're the hub, and we get our house together, we'll have people knocking down doors to get with us.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Any of our people like to ask any questions? We've been on the meeting for a little while, so
yes.
I really appreciate it. It's a late at night and you gave some time to talking to us. Thank you so much, Andrew.
Could I close out with one thing?
Yeah, please do. Take it away.
If anyone wants to read the platform, get more information, I'm steady adding content. You can go to Andrew Jones for Mayor. That's the number 4. And I think just the FOR will get you there as well. But Andrew Jones for Mayor, I please ask people to go look, read the content, read my background, because I know I can deliver. And we have to send a message that it won't be business as usual for the politicians that exist here in the city. We're going in another direction and we want them to get on board. We don't want to leave anyone behind, but we have to show that we have someone who can turn this city around. And I'm suggesting to each and every one of you, give me an opportunity because that chance is me. Thank you so much.
All right. Beautiful. Thank you for taking that out. Hey, we're good. We've had a long meeting, folks. I am happy to end things up here unless anybody has anything else that we forgot to talk about or you would like to add. If not, I think we should adjourn for tonight. Tim Mulligan, you are the man with the button that can end this meeting. And I'm going to turn it over to you. Oh, sorry, Nicole, you have your hand up. What's up?
Oh, no, I'm saying bye.
Oh, you're saying bye. Okay.
Bye, everyone.
All right.
Thanks,
Good night,
Jim.
everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you all.
Thanks, everyone.
It's good. Bye.
Nice. Bye.